Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
I had studied 2 Kings 3, answered my Bible study fellowship questions, did my homiletics, discussed with my leaders group, led my own discussion group, and read the notes. But it wasn't until I listened to the teaching leader's lecture, when she actually read the scripture, that this verse jumped out at me. Though I know I've already looked at this passage yesterday, I want to center in on one specific verse. The king of Israel, Jehoram, the king of Judah, Jehoshaphat, and the king of Edom had gotten themselves into quite a predicament. They and their armies had traveled almost to Moab and had run out of water in the desert. At this point, they weren't thinking about what they'd come there to do. Their main enemy was thirst, and they were losing the battle. All they cared about was survival. They consulted Elisha, the prophet of God, and he told them to dig ditches, and God would send water to fill them. He didn't say how, only that it wouldn't be the usual way with rain and wind, and that they would have plenty. And oh, by the way, one other trifling matter that God would take care of for them: He will deliver the Moabites into your hand. That was the verse. Her version read, "This is an easy thing in the eyes of the Lord." Other translations say, "This will only be a small thing, an insignificant thing, a slight thing, a simple matter." Nowadays, we might say, it's no big deal for God. Relocating water, diverting a river, easy peasy for the Lord. And tricking the enemies into thinking all the water in the ditches was blood? That's just a side note, no problem at all. One defeated Moabite army coming up. Jehoram and Jehoshaphat went to Elisha because they'd run out of options. The Lord was their only hope for survival, and they'd gotten themselves into this mess because they hadn't asked Him for His direction in the first place. They were unworthy, and they knew it. But they left with promises that went over and above their expectations, and they became more than conquerors. They asked for survival. He gave them complete victory. Sometimes we come to God just wanting to survive the day, and we go away with promises too big to imagine. But for God, it's quite simple, just an easy thing. For us, it might be impossible, but to Him, it's just one little thing out of many. It may be something that changes our life, but it takes almost no effort on His part. We know God is almighty, all-powerful, all-knowing, but often we don't have the faith to believe that He can do anything. He tells us that sometimes we have not because we ask not. God dares us to dream big. He's the one who can do exceedingly abundantly above all we ask or think, but that's just a small thing for Him. Like in this story about the water, it's rarely going to happen the way you dream or end up the way you think. God's way is more creative, and it's all for His glory. What requests do you have for God? Have you been afraid to dream big? What's holding you back?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes at our website, which you can find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.